Sorry, guys, 1 minute, and then what we'll do is we'll go through our pre-submitted questions, and then anything that anyone wants to ask, like Mike says, post it in the Q&A. People tend to be a little bit shy, it seems, in the beginning, so we'll work through our pre-submissions and then tackle anything that people submit. Tags. What tags do we want for this?
People aren't shy today, Dave. We already got a bunch of questions in here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, buggers, they've totally changed this Facebook Live.
Well, Dave's doing that. Let's see here. I will answer the first question since Brian got in first. He gets the first question in. He says, you get a lot of your products from China. I'm starting a whoops, this thing keeps moving whenever a new question comes in. I'm starting a clothing e-commerce business. Is made in the USA more important for this type of product? I mean, I don't know. We did some baby clothing, organic baby clothing, and made in China definitely seem to have a negative connotation for that, for kids and baby stuff, because parents are a little bit more obsessive about their kids, I think, than they are about themselves. So I think probably, like, as long as you aren't making kids stuff, I think it's probably fine. But I would say that China probably isn't really the best textiles country. There's other countries like Cambodia, Vietnam, even India, that I think that might be better for you than China when it comes to just pure clothing products. And none of those countries really seem to have any negative connotations. So I think that I would check those places as well. But thank you for getting in the first question, Brian.
Okay, well, I think our Facebook Live is going to have to be skipped for today because they've totally changed everything. We need to integrate an API key and all that. So I don't think people want to watch us do that.
Okay.
Okay, so what we'll do, just like Mike mentioned, today's premium week. So we'll start with a little bit of a picture in the beginning, but what I'm going to do is give you guys all an overview of what EcomCrew Premium is. It won't take more than a couple minutes of your time, but Mike and I are pretty proud of what we've done here, along with all of EcomCrew, our team that we've kind of built out here. So I thought we would give you guys an overview of Premium here for a minute. So Premium is our paid service. Like Mike mentioned, what we do with it is a number of things, but one of the regularly scheduled things that we do is a twice monthly webinar. One of them is our Q&A webinar, and one of them is our secret sauce webinar. So seeing we're doing a webinar right now, that's probably the logical place to jump in. So I'll just give you a little bit of an overview of some of the webinars and all the past webinars that you get access to. So here's our webinars page. If this is my EcomCrew Premium, the back end here. So if you just go to webinar replays, we now have a catalog of, I think, about 2 or 3 dozen different webinar replays. So you can see here are our 2 most recent Q&A webinars. Really valuable stuff because normally the most valuable questions are the ones that we don't even ask. And so the ones that other people are asking are probably ones that you might have yourself. So you can browse those. Those are our old Q&As. The other webinar that we do each month is called our Secret Sauce webinar. And we do that once a month, and we try to have a guest come in and basically talk about a subject that they're an expert in. So here's one that we did in December, and this is the Secret Sauce webinar, Making Great Product Videos for Cheap. And this is Dave Kuyar talking about how to make product videos for cheap, basically using your iPhone or very limited technology. So it's really great for Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers because, as we all know, video is a huge conversion creator. So being able to do videos on the cheap is an incredibly valuable thing for your brand. Now, along with the webinars, what you also get access to is a whole catalog of courses. And unlike a lot of other training where the trainers basically set it up and then more or less don't update it for a long time, what we do, because Premium is a monthly or an annual paid service, is that we continuously update our courses. So we make a goal of at least every quarter to either introduce a new course or to update lessons in our previous courses. So here's all the courses that you get access to. immediately when you join Premium. So you have our import from China like a pro course, very relevant now. A lot of people are planning their Canton Fair trips in April. Start a 7-figure brand course. This will basically help you find a product and develop an actual brand around it, including everything from finding the product, finding the niche, and developing packaging and making the product better mousetrap. We have our launch strategy here, and this is once you actually have your products in, how do you actually launch them on Amazon? So we have kind of a tested and proven method that we use to launch products consistently on Amazon. So we go through step-by-step on how to do that. And somewhere on the other page, we also have our Messenger course. Messenger is really relevant today. If you're not using Messenger in your e-commerce company, it's really good, even if you are an Amazon-only seller, because it's great for not only launching products, but also helping to get your first reviews on products. Just going through here, a couple more things. So this is our Amazon launch strategy course. So what we do, I think we have done to really separate us from some of the other training is that these are really highly produced courses.
Hey, that's me.
There. Yeah, that's you. So yeah, these are really highly produced courses. We put a lot of effort into these. We have a team of 5 people designing each course, recording, designing, editing. So highly produced courses, and yeah, very intuitive and walks you through step by step of everything. So no matter where you are, kind of in your e-commerce journey, very intuitive and easy to follow. And a couple other things here before we wrap up. Of course, we have our private Facebook community here. So I'll just pop over to that right now. One person wants to join the group. Wow. Must have just been a new member. So you can see here at the very top, this is our webinar schedule for each month. That's where you register for your webinars. You can see it's quite active. Someone here just posted, hello all. FYI, First World just stopped servicing all US customers. That's not good. Thoughts and alternatives. But yeah, very active. Yeah, definitely each day there's quite a bit of activity going through there. And that's one of the ways that we can help you is through the Facebook group. And also in addition to the Facebook group and helping you, and of course with the Facebook group, me and Mike are in there, but also other EcomCrew premium members are in there helping you as well. But the other big thing, and this is I think kind of the most valuable thing about premium, is that we have unlimited email support, basically to allow you to ask any question that you want any time of the day, no matter what it is, whether it's about launching a product on Amazon, finding a product, setting up your messenger flow, whatever it is. So here's our Help Scout backend. You can see in the past day, we've had well over, looks like around 20 email questions that have come in. And so Mike and myself are managing this quite a bit each day. We're getting into, I think most of our evenings now are consumed with answering EcomCrew premium members. So we do spend a lot of time helping each member that comes in, and we make a goal to respond to everyone within at least 24 business hours. So you're not going to be holding on forever waiting for us to reply to you. And I think that's probably the one thing that premium members get the most out of, aside from the courses and webinars and Facebook community, is the one-on-one email support that we offer. And yeah, I think that's just about it. One other thing, we do try to at least once or twice a year do some type of premium members get together, and our next one is planned during the Canton Fair in April, and I think we tentatively have it scheduled for April 27th. So if you're thinking about heading over to China for the Canton Fair, then premium is definitely a great accompaniment to that. You get the import from China like a pro course, but you also get the great honor of meeting me and Mike in China over a beer, and we'll even pay for the first beer. So that's kind of an overview of premium. And of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to shout out, but that kind of wraps up an overview of that. And now we can jump into the Q&A. And one last thing I should, of course, mention, if you want to sign up, ecomcrew.com/premium. That's where you go to sign up. Okay, I'm just going to stop my screen sharing here. No.
The screen share had some like weird like rectangle across the screen this time.
Did it really? Yeah, I think it's this. Yeah, it's just the new Zoom interface.
Well, Switching that off, Larry says, thanks for doing this. No problem, man. We're definitely excited to go through this. We'll probably be here for a couple of hours just answering questions until like, we either get too hungry or my throat hurts too much because I've been sick. So
Until my daughter walks in, pounding on the door.
yeah. Robin had a question here. I know Dave's still trying to get together all the contents that come through email, so I'll just answer a couple here to help him out. Robin says, merging old listings to a new listing, refresh them. I think this is supposed to say, does the merging of an old listing into a new listing on Amazon refresh the 90-day honeymoon period? So one of the things we've been talking about actually in Premium is just kind of a trick that you can do. And this has kind of been well known now that Amazon has this honeymoon period for the first 90 days, meaning that you don't have a history of stats yet of a conversion rate, average conversion rate, and things of this nature. So new listings actually get kind of a preferential treatment. It's actually not the other way around. It's more of a preferential treatment. So if you can produce really good results and statistics and things of this nature, in the short term, you're going to have a much better chance of having a long-term successful product. And the question here is, if you take an old listing that's underperforming and create a new one and merge it in, would that reset the honeymoon period? The answer is yes. You would also preserve your reviews. That is, if you're creating an exact same product and doing it that way, it definitely is not white hat to do it. So just be aware of that. It's definitely gray or black hat. And if you're using FN SKUs, you have to relabel everything. So keep that in mind.
Cool. Okay, so I got all the email submissions together. So we'll just work through these guys. Just to be fair, kind of everyone here is that pre-submitted questions may not be able to attend, so we'll just tackle these in the beginning. That way it's easier for them to find. So the first question from Scott and Jessica, they're actually Premium members that pre-submitted these, is what types of conversion rates do you typically see for new products from brand new brand when there's only a couple pieces of feedback / reviews, and how does this conversion rate change when a new listing has 10 to 20 reviews?
I assume this means on Amazon.
Yes. So what happens to conversion rate when a product goes from 0 reviews to 20, and how do we see that conversion rate changing?
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, this is something that I haven't studied, so I hate throwing out numbers that I can't quantify 100% with a study where I've sat there and looked at my conversion rate step by step, review by review. But I can tell you, just over a body of work of launching hundreds of products and being on top of this all the time, that it's pretty substantial. I would say it more than doubles when you get over those first 10 reviews. It makes a really big difference. Unfortunately, Amazon's doing all kinds of things now to throttle reviews and make it even more difficult than it has been to get reviews, even legitimate ones. It's a pretty frustrating period. And of course, if they launch new products themselves, they immediately launch the 30 new reviews. So they're pretty hypocritical on this whole system. But yes, getting reviews definitely makes a big difference. We are always targeting at a minimum of a 20% conversion rate on our products. Our products convert pretty darn well. Dave's, we just went over those numbers in a recent webinar. What were yours again? The conversion rate, average conversion?
Ours were around 15%.
15? Yeah, ours just convert a little bit better, mostly because they're lower priced products. And they also have, a lot of them have a lot of reviews and they've been established. So if you're down below, somewhere below 10%, there's a pretty good chance that you have a big problem that you need to address. We've looked through our list, and a couple of the products that were under 10% were clearly just either failures or needed to be completely rethought. And those conversion rate numbers seem crazy, but Amazon customers are highly motivated buyers that are looking to make a purchase usually right then and there. And it's not this, they already have the credit card and trust Amazon and all these different things, and they know that they're going to get 2-day shipping. So the conversion rates on Amazon are very high.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add to that is, because of all these leaked Amazon reports, that we can see conversion rates for a huge section of products on Amazon. And the average conversion rate seems to be around 20% on Amazon per search. So if you're not meeting that kind of 20% threshold, you're probably leaving some money on the table. So that's kind of our guidelines that we suggest to premium members, is that 20% is kind of your goal for a conversion rate. Anything below 10%, unless it's a brand new product that you've just launched with no reviews, if it's 10% or below for an established product, probably leaving money on the table. And there's some easy conversion things that you can do. Which brings us to question number 2. If a new listing is not converting or is not converting well, what steps do you recommend to take to determine the cause of the issues aside from testing images, copy, and price? Do you have any additional ways you found to be successful in identifying and improving conversion rates?
Yeah. So images and price are the biggest ones. I know you already mentioned those, but those are biggies to be re-engineering the images. But I do have a tip here for this, something that we've gone through ourselves. There's a wide variety of keywords a product could rank for. I'm trying to think of a really good example. Maybe it's like gloves. We have these tactical gloves that we developed, and you could also say that they're work gloves or they're outdoor gloves or whatever it might be. And what people tend to want to do is try to be everything to everybody, or maybe target the most competitive of those keywords because it's the most lucrative. So what we found is by kind of re-engineering the listing to appeal to one of the other keywords, you can actually sell significantly more. Your sales will be better. So and try to appeal to, instead of trying to appeal to everyone and try to have this catch-all product that kind of ranks for all these different keywords, you can go after a specific niche within your niche of that product. And it depends on the product. Not every product, obviously, this is applicable, but rewriting your title, changing the images to appeal specifically to that particular keyword. If it's tactical gloves, instead of like using work gloves where the guy's like using a shovel, out on a construction site as your lifestyle images, maybe it's a guy holding a gun or something, or something of that nature. So there's a lot that can be done to just kind of position the listing to appeal to a subset of that. And it's better to get 90% of the sales for one keyword than 0% for everything. So that's another tip I would give you there.
Yep, and a little software hack for you guys too. Price, like Mike mentioned, is a big determinant of conversion rate. Sometimes it's easy to get a feel for what the average price is for a keyword. SEO tools for Excel, if you just Google it, it's about $20 a month. There's a free trial, and you can basically scrape all the critical listing details of an entire search key term, including price and reviews and titles. So you can basically type in the keyword SEO tools for Excel. We'll download all that into a spreadsheet, and then you can just take the average prices for 100 listings or 1,000 listings, however many listings you want to take, and you can get a real easy feel for what the average price is for that search term. Okay, Tony O emails in, I found a competitive product on Amazon where the top 12 listings are doing an average of $17,000 in revenue per month. However, when I did a keyword search for that particular product, I found the exact search volume was only 98 searches per month. Is this indicative that the keyword is not driving sales, or should I stay away from this market? So $17,000 on average this product's doing per month, but really low exact keyword volume, below 100.
So this might be a time where you want to, if you're willing to get one of these black hat or gray hat SEO reports, you can run it on one of these products. I have a feeling you might be looking at the wrong keyword here. I mean, it's not possible really for that many products, 12, if there's one product at the top, I would say it would be different. They could be sending outside traffic or other factors, but if it's 12 things, then there's probably, there has to be some other keyword that people are searching for those products on. That's really the only thing I can really come up with. And there's been some times where, I was convinced that the main keyword for something, because without being able to really know what's being searched for, you can only really start with some seeded keywords yourself. And there's been a couple of products where I've been just completely off. Like I was searching for the wrong thing, and people were calling it something else, even though it might have seemed so obvious to me. Shoulder ice wrap is the one that comes to mind. There's a particular example. And when I got one of those reports, it turned out that the actual search was shoulder cold pack. And that's where all the volume was coming from. So, I would look at, I'm like, how the hell are people getting all these sales? And it was because, again, I was just looking at it from the wrong way. Again, outside traffic can be a factor, deal of the days, lightning deals, all these types of things could like help really ratchet up sales and give you a false positive on a particular product in a niche, but not when it's 12 deep. I mean, I just don't think that's the thing.
And if you download one of those black hat search reports, asimspy.net, if you can fumble through the Chinese interface, they're the cheapest. I think they're about $20 per report. And what it'll do is give you basically a breakdown of where all the sales for any product, whether it's yours or somebody else, where they're coming from, where the search keyword volume is coming from. So we don't endorse it necessarily, but it's good for you guys to know.
I mean, I will say that I've used it. I've stopped using it when I found out how they're actually getting the data. I thought that they just had like a really cool way of crawling Amazon, but then I found out the reason that they're able to get this data is because someone's like literally stealing the stuff from Amazon. Feels a little unethical for me. So I actually still have credits. If someone wants to use them, I'm not going to use them anymore. I think that it's a little bit too black hat for me. But you know, if you're willing to do it, there's basically no way to get caught. So it's not like you're going to get your account shut down.
Yeah, someone's not running around Amazon. Hot off the press, we got Mike Jackness requesting a stolen Amazon report. Okay, getting to the next ones. Joe, finally getting to you. Joe's a premium member. I think he's also been on the podcast too.
He's coming on the podcast. I just saw an email.
He's coming on the podcast.
Yeah, Joe Corcoran, right?
Yep.
Yeah, longtime friend from e-commerce fuel. Was in a first mastermind with him I ever did in e-commerce. Guy's awesome. Now he's a premium member. It's just been cool getting to know him and all the things he's been. He's had a long ride. So I don't have time for all that, but it's cool to have a question here from him.
Okay, so Joe's making his way over to Hong Kong. He's booking a flight into Hong Kong on April 27th. By the way, Joe, you should come on the 26th, and that way you'll make it in time for our meetup on the 27th. So this is the 2 days before our factory visit on April 29th, and we have a factory visit on April 30th. We plan to attend Phase 3 of the Canton Fair from May 1 to 3rd, and we have a couple of days extras at the end of the trip to do more factory visits. So my questions are, where would you stay? Do you recommend to stay in Hong Kong and commute back and forth between Hong Kong and the Canton Fair, or to stay near the Canton Fair?
Well, I'm biased because I don't particularly like spending time in China, but it's really not practical to commute between Hong Kong, even with the new high-speed train. It's not really practical to commute back and forth. I believe the new high-speed train has it down to 90 minutes. It used to take like 2.5, almost 3 hours. But the new high-speed train comes into Guangzhou South, which is actually further from the Canton Fair and a bigger traffic mess. I actually took a couple trains out of there in the past, and it's like the train station itself is the size of a freaking city. Yeah, I mean, you still got to clear customs and then get a cab or a subway up to the Canton Fair. I mean, you're looking at probably 2.5 hours total door to door each way. So you're going to chew up 5 hours a day commuting. Even though I love Hong Kong, I hate traveling back and forth like that even more. There is a hotel that's physically attached to the Canton Fair. It's called the Westin. It's astronomically expensive. I've stayed there 1 or 2 nights with Miles. It is really nice. The internet works really well. There's a couple other hotels that are a stone's throw away. What's the one I stayed at? It's like a funky looking, the Langham, I think it's called. It's like a weird look. It looks like the building was like a pyramid that was thrown upside down, and kind of, it's a really freaky looking building, really cool. There's a Shangri-La there. The first time we ever went there, which is still one of our best experiences, we stayed at this place called the Hong Fun Apartment Hotel. So it's more of a condo feel. The downside to staying right near the Canton Fair is there's very limited food options, and all the stuff that's there is like ridiculously expensive, like just absolutely insultingly expensive. The buffet at the Westin is something like $75 or $80 US. And it's not like a Vegas quality buffet. I mean, it's a good buffet, but like to get a Caesar salad's like $25. So I prefer to stay down by there's a I'm trying to think of the name of the hotel that we stay at. It'll come to me in a minute, but it's by the Ritz, but it's not the Ritz. It's down in like downtown Guangzhou, and there's like all these like great food options, and you're like in the middle of the city, and it's a lot more fun. So I think you're going to want to probably try to spend time near the fair. The hotel that I stay at has a bus that takes you back and forth to the fair. That's really nice. It's like a 10-minute ride, and you're away from the Canton Fair at night, which I think is really great. I personally just don't want to be near there in the evenings after being there all day. And one last piece of advice, like internet is going to be a big struggle for you. So you're probably going to want to get out of China every few days to be able to reconnect to the world. You're also going to want to make sure that you have a good data plan from your US carrier. The last couple times I went over there, I had been using AT&T. It's like $10 a day for internet, which has worked a lot better than in the past. I just switched actually to T-Mobile, like specifically for international travel, because it's unlimited international data that's like tied to your normal plan. So like you get something like 20 gigs of data before they even throttle it, but there's no extra charge. So like, I mean, I was coming back with $1,000+ phone bills between my wife and I in Asia. So, and definitely spend some time in Hong Kong, man. Hong Kong's an awesome place. If you're flying in and out of there, there's also those same dates you mentioned. There's the Global Sources Summit. So if you come around those dates, that's a great thing. Dave and I are both going to be speaking there. There's an EcomCrew event there. There's also the mega show. There's lots of stuff going on in Hong Kong around those times as well.
And last thing, do you have any travel advice in Hong Kong? Any must-see places to visit or check out?
It depends on what you like doing. I'll throw a couple things out there. I love Victoria Peak. I think I'm a kind of a city view kind of guy, and you get up there, you're like on the top of the mountain looking down at one of the richest cities in the world. It's just the most ridiculously fabulous, awesome view. If you're into hiking, there's a hike that I did there that is one of the best hikes I've done in my entire life. Like you go to the end of the subway line on the Hong Kong Island side, on the east side of the island, and then you walk up the side of the mountain through a cemetery, and the cemeteries there are all like above ground because of the typhoons or whatever the heck the issue is. And then you like hike over to the top of the mountain over it. And like when you start at the bottom of the mountain, you're in Hong Kong, like on Hong Kong Island, in the middle of this like crazy bustling city. You hike up over this mountain, you're in the woods, and then down the other side, and you're at a beach, like literally at a beach with like on the other side, it's all single story kind of shacks, and you can eat tacos or Chinese food and stuff on the beach and have a beer. That was freaking awesome. The thing I'm going to do this time, there's another island you can take a ferry over to. So I'm going to go do that this time. And the food's amazing. Like, I mean, go down to Jordan Street Market, freaking amazing. Like the night market, if you had to have actually, if I remember correctly, Joe, you didn't have it was either you or your wife that wasn't an adventurous eater. So you might have a hard time with the food. But if you are like me or like Dave, I'll eat anything. We even had roaches land on our table one time that didn't even seem to phase us. So we kept on eating. We just moved tables. That was a pretty funny story. But my wife grabbed my arm so hard it like literally left this like big black and blue mark on my arm for a month because this like giant roach fell at our table that was crawling on the ceiling. So those are the types of things you have to deal with over there. But it really is an amazing place, and I would definitely try to save some time for there.
And Joe, you mentioned about Kowloon Mall. I think Kowloon Mall, I'm not sure where we mentioned that. I believe though the context is there's a mall at Kowloon Station. I think that's it's not called Kowloon Mall. It's
called Elements Mall.
Elements Mall. There you go.
Yeah, and it's a great place to stay. The train. So the reason I like staying at Elements or above it, basically, there's like 10, 70 to 100 story apartment buildings like on top of this thing. It's really hard to get your head around the scale of the way things work over there when you're used to living in Charlotte. It's a totally different vibe. But there's the high-speed train. The airport express train leaves directly from the airport and goes to Kowloon Station. So, it's a 25-minute train ride direct, and you can pop right out of the train station with your luggage and be at your hotel rather than like trying to catch a cab. Like I'm just like a point-to-point efficiency guy. And then when you're on top of Kowloon Mall, like there's all these awesome places to eat down there. And you can take the Airport Express either back to the airport or to the World Expo where Global Sources is, so that's how we commute back to Global Sources every day. And then your one train or subway stop over to Hong Kong Island, and then you can go over to the other expo center or go do all the touristy stuff on Hong Kong Island. So it's just like this really awesome central spot to be. And there's several Airbnbs above Kowloon Mall, Elements Mall. And it's also close to the new high-speed train station that goes to China. So if you're staying there, you can like literally just walk across the street and catch this new high-speed train. the train station looks amazing. When we were there last time, it was like about 85% done. You could really see it taking shape. So I love staying there personally.
Cool. Okay, so we can start to tackle some of the Q&As submitted here in the webinar. It looks like we have 33, and in 30 minutes, we've so far answered 4 questions, so we're gonna we're gonna pick up the pace a little bit here. Okay, David G, what tools do you find are critical for managing a remote team? Any other tips?
So we've started using Basecamp, which has been astronomical in helping our business. Hubstaff, I don't know that Mia could like run the office over there without it. Hubstaff like takes random screenshots of them, pays them automatically, keeps track of like all their hours and other stuff. That's really been pretty important. We use Help Scout for support, and it really makes it easy for multiple people to have their hands in one ticket. Those are the big ones.
Biggie too, with ensure they have a speedy internet connections, whether it means a space at a co-working space or even buying them technology after they've worked XYZ number of days or months will make your life a lot more.
We actually do it from day one because we're in an office and we kind of own the equipment, and it sits like if they leave, the stuff stays on their desk.
Yeah, we just hired a VA and never realized he's working from an iPad, which is okay, but not necessarily the best for doing customer support or blog writing.
Yep.
Okay, Nuvan, another premium member. To get a custom mold made of a simple item, for example, a hook on AliExpress, how do I go about getting a reasonable idea of the cost? Do you need to hire engineers to give exact specifications of the material type? I literally just want the item in a different shape. So you want to get a G hook, you want to just get basically a different shape of a G hook.
For this, I would recommend shooting us an email, Nuvan, and let me hook you up with our sourcing agent. You're going to want someone to help you with this to make sure you get the mold made correctly and on the first try. Because like once it's made and you've paid for it. And you're going to want like some type of 3D CAD drawing and that you can look at and approve beforehand. And a mold's going to cost you probably between like on the very, very low end, $3,000, but probably more in like the $5,000 to $10,000 and up to $20,000 range. So it's a big investment. But I love doing that because it makes you unique. No one else can do it. If you do make a mold, make sure you put your name in the mold for crying out loud. So someone else can't like use it. And then they tell you that we didn't use your mold. So yeah, that would be the way that I would approach that. And I have someone that can help you with that. Since you're a premium member, we can hook you up with that contact.
Yeah. And if it's a G hook that just goes on a bag, we actually just had one made about a month ago for a tent that we're doing. And we got quoted $2,500, and we actually had the factory split the cost with us just because we had a pretty substantial order for all the other products that we had with them.
Yeah, they almost always do that. And another thing you can also do is tell them like on the next order or after I order X number of units, I want the money back. I've never had anybody tell me no.
Yeah, just make sure that you ask for it back. Don't wait for them to give it to you.
Well, we just credit on that particular order when we hit that threshold.
Dan Cassidy, hey guys, I'm looking to source some new products this year and have a couple base products selected from Amazon that I like and would like to improve on. My question is, how can I find a manufacturer who made the exact product, or should I just look to find a good manufacturer and have them recreate it?
Okay, so I mean, there's a couple of things you can do to find the manufacturer who makes the existing product that you're looking at to kind of replicate and make better. Probably the easiest way to go about it would be to sign up for
Import Genius.
Thank you, Import Genius. I was having a brain fart. And Panjiva. Those are the two I was trying to think of, but just complete brain fart. It's expensive, but the way that I usually use it, I usually go through research phases. Like I'll be in Mike's in product development mode, and I go get Import Genius. It's great, but it's like $200 or $300 a month. So I'll have it for a month or two and then cancel it. So you can start to do some research on that company, and if they weren't savvy enough to block their import records, you can find the manufacturer that way. We've had really good luck with that. I don't know of any other way of going about it at that point. I mean, these people don't put this stuff on their website and advertise like, here's my manufacturer and then their phone number. These are things that people obviously protect and try to make difficult to find. The depending on the type of product that you're trying to make, you can go to something like the Canton Fair or one of these other big trade shows where there is just a plethora of manufacturers in that niche. Or, if you're in something like, there's also lots of products that are not exhibited at the Canton Fair. So you'll have to kind of figure out that from there. But if you can find a fair or trade show where there's a lot of manufacturers in one place at one time, that probably would be the easiest way to go about it. And you can look and feel and touch, talk with them, look at the product and see its quality and all that stuff, I think is pretty important.
Okay, this one could be a long one. Why do you hate Steve Chu?
Hi, Steve. I know that's you. That's funny. I love you, man. I can't say anything about you if I tried. I don't know.
We'll reserve a special webinar just to discuss why we hate Steve Chu. So Steve,
it says anonymous attendee. So that's like an inside joke from e-commerce Fuel because he did the same thing there when Andrew was busting on him.
So Steve runs My Wife Quit Her Job, Seller Summit Conference, and
yeah, I'll put the links for that in there.
Yeah, we don't hate Steve.
He's good people, man.
Okay, Gary, what is the best way to get rid of a persistent hijacker?
Oh man, this is such an issue these days. It's so we have one premium member right now going through this, and it just like breaks my heart because he's like, what do I do? And there's sometimes there's not a whole lot you can do right in the moment. But so there's two types of hijacking, Gary. If you could clarify if someone's like hijacking your listing or if they're just selling against you. If it's the hijacking your listing flavor, you really need to be brand registered if you want any hope and prayer of stopping this. But one really dirty thing that people are doing now that I don't know how to stop at all is they open up or they have a Vendor Central account and then they claim that they're going to start selling your item and they actually end up getting priority over your listing. It's pretty gross. I don't really know a great way to stop it other than to be persistent back and keep on getting it updated in your favor. If it's someone selling your product on your listing, they're like, hijacking your listing in terms of selling product against you. Again, brand registry is really the way to go. But the way to really fix this is to keep on buying their product, all of their product, and then filing an A to Z claim against them. And that causes them to not get a refund. And you don't have to usually even send this stuff back. And usually once they realize that you're not going to stop at this, they realize that it's not profitable doing this crap to you and they'll stop. Another thing you can do, there's a new program that Amazon came out with called Transparency, where you had to put a barcode on every single item. That would put 100% stop to it, but it's an extra piece of logistics and labor and cost to do it. But those are basically the high level ways. And if you're still here, if you have any other specific questions about that, let me know.
Okay, Larry asks, are you familiar with ASD Market Week in Las Vegas? If so, can you share some thoughts on it as a potential good way to source for a novice?
I don't know what ASD stands for, so I'm going to go with no.
Yes, no, neither am I. I have the website up right now. It looks like it's kind of a trade show. It looks like kind of a mass consumer product trade show.
Normally, the U.S. trade shows are not companies that are willing to make products for you. They're looking to sell their products at wholesale or to retail. Yeah. Typically, I mean, there's obviously shows that are different, but
normally trade shows, through the rule of thumb, is the more niche that you get, the more effective it's going to be, especially if you have a niche that you work in. So for us, we're in the off-roading space. We go to automotive shows rather than, in particular, something like the Canton Fair, which is kind of a catch-all. So the more niche you can get, the better. And it looks like ASD is pretty non-niche. Okay, next one, Kilborn Sherman. Hey guys, longtime listener. You guys are awesome. Thanks for doing this. Thank you. More of those. Keep them coming.
Yeah, man, that never gets old hearing that stuff.
Okay, in a recent podcast from Karen Dignaco, sorry for butchering your name there. In a recent podcast, Dave said he wasn't having great results with display odds on Seller Central. Mike had different results. Dave felt it was because he still had PDAs on the AMS side Would you recommend creating new ads in Seller Central and dropping the PDAs on AMS if we have virtually everything else in Seller Central? And just to give some background, so PDA, product display ads, AMS is Amazon's old advertising platform that they're kind of phasing out and trying to get everything into Seller Central. So I guess I can, I'll speak from this, seeing it was me who had those experiences. The way that we're trying to do is phase them out over the next 6 months or so. If you stop them immediately, Amazon is using some of that sales history to help figure out where to display your ads. So if you kill them immediately, it's probably going to take weeks or maybe even months to regain that kind of that sales history that Amazon can use to effectively target them. So that's kind of our strategy. Every week or so, we're trying to kill off one ad and transition it over to Seller Central rather than doing it immediately.
Yeah, and I think I misspoke on that. This stuff's all new coming out. Like, obviously things are changing all the time, which is great. I like the change stuff from a certain perspective because it allows me to have an opportunity to be first and learn it and figure it out before others do. And usually those are the periods when this stuff costs the least. But it's also the time when, like, sometimes you don't know exactly how things are working. And I think what I realize now is that those new ads that came out in Seller Central are not product display ads. The product display ads are those like the rectangle box that would show up under the buy button of another product. So like what's happening in Seller Central are actually the suggested product ads that run underneath. So like we're still going to need to run the product display ads. And those have worked quite well. Like we target specific products, especially for Color It, actually for ice traps too, they work pretty darn well. Where you have a like product, or if you have a competitor that like copied you, you can put your ads there, and the ACOS on those is actually pretty low, pretty effective. If it isn't, we just stop them.
Yeah, and Amazon's giving conflicting information on where the product targeting ads appear on Amazon. So I'm still waiting to hear a consistent answer.
From what I can tell now, after like a couple more weeks of playing with it, it does not show up in the same ad unit that the product display ads do. And
it does appear that way.
And I agree. It does seem that like a lot of things with Amazon, the information is not very clear. I've read through it. I can't quite tell either. So I've just been playing with it in terms of the way I learn a lot of things, like just through the School of Hard Knocks, just playing around and testing it. I can tell you both are working very well. Both get us really good returns for now.
Okay, Kilburn Sherman asks, again, on one of your podcasts, you mentioned setting up manual exact and manual broad campaigns in Amazon for every single SKU. For products with different sizes, do you use the same exact keywords for the campaigns? If so, is there any concern about competing for the same terms and driving up a bid?
Yeah. So what we find is that one of the sizes usually is the outlier, is the one that ends up getting the best results, and Sellex seems to figure that out. So what ends up happening is, like, let's say we have 3 different sizes. One of them, like the bids end up like down in the toilet, or just basically never end up getting any exposure. And then the one size that for whatever reason was converting the best is the one that gets the actual exposure. And then when someone lands on a listing, they still see all the different sizes. So the end result is that we're effectively bidding for one size, even though we don't ever turn off the other ones.
Little FYI too, from a conversion or from an organic standpoint, in organic listings, normally it's the top selling SKU. If you have multiple variations, that's being displayed in your organic search results. So not necessarily relevant to PPC, but just a little FYI for you guys. David G, what challenges do you find with running a remote team versus an in-house team?
Well, we do both, so I can probably answer this pretty effectively. Everything has challenges, first of all. I mean, I would say that I have challenges with my local team as well. So, but this is specifically with running a remote team versus an in-house team. So assuming the remote team is in the Philippines, like it is for me, the first challenge is just time zones. It's nice having someone here in the office in our time zones, but I've just adjusted my life a little bit to deal with that. I mean, sometimes it sucks. Last night I was from 5 p.m. until almost 10 p.m. last night dealing with people in the Philippines, like almost nonstop. So that's annoying, but it is what it is. I mean, it's a globalized world, and in a lot of ways, it actually helps. Having to, for me, like the way that I operate, like having to document a lot of things, like I like to just say shit verbally, and as Dave knows, and do it like when I'm in the room with somebody, I'm more effective that way. But having to like write it out, which sometimes feels like it's taking me more time to write the thing out, I can just do it myself, which is a dangerous trap. What else? Camaraderie. It's tough to have them feel the same way that a local employee does. I think we've done a really good job with that. I've worked really hard on that. And I also make sure that I go out there at least once a year to work on that. Let's see, what else? Sometimes it can feel like this is another time zone thing. Sometimes it can feel like it takes a whole day to get an answer on something. Like you think of something first thing in the morning and you don't get an answer till almost the next day sometimes. I don't know. I mean, like those. I mean, for us, the benefits outweigh the challenges. It's not even remotely close. So I'm like grasping for straws here. Things that bother me about our remote team. I mean, they don't really feel like a remote team. They feel like our team. Something again we've worked really hard on. Yeah.
Okay, next one. Kilburn asks, one more question. If you have products with different sizes, is it better to set up auto campaigns for each size, or should you set up one auto campaign and have both sizes as the offered products? I assume the keyword works for one size. It can be assumed it will work for the other sizes and should be put into manual. Concerned about two auto campaigns bidding for the same terms with no real differentiation between the products.
We've actually set this up both ways. The way that we've settled now is a different campaign for each size. Realize that the long-term goal for us is always to extract any keywords that are in the automatic campaign and put them in a manual. So it's a short-lived problem if it is an issue, because again, the goal is that the only thing that shows up in our PPC or automated PPC campaign reports would be ASINs. So once a keyword shows up in there at all, we yank it and put it in a manual campaign.
Yeah, how we do it too, we basically one campaign, auto campaign, and that campaign will have all the variations within that campaign. The only time we separate them out is if one variation is targeting a different keyword. So for example, if we're selling tires, maybe there's tires for a Jeep and tires for an ATV. So we'd separate the variation that has the tires for an ATV, and that way we can bid on the keyword tires for ATV and separate the Jeep tires out and say tires for Jeep. But if they're going after the same keywords, yeah, we just put them in the same group and seems to work okay.
And just full disclosure on this, was it Kilborn? Was that his name you said?
Yeah.
We have very few products that have sizes. So like, this is not something that we've really had a reason to test extensively. I mean, it's like, I'm sitting here trying to think of more than two things that we have sizes for out of hundreds of SKUs. So it's not really something that's come up quite often for us.
Yeah.
We do have colors more often comes up, but not sizes. And colors, I think you definitely want to separate out into different campaigns. That's worked pretty well for us.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, right? If it's size variations, well, typically people aren't really searching for size variations. If you're searching for running shoes, normally you're searching for running shoes, not size 9 running shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Okay, Larry Brown, question number 2. This is going to be a fun one. I've heard you talk about sales tax issues on the podcast. Can you comment on how a seller in year 1 who may expect to get to 6 figures might approach the quagmire? What should the concerns be as candidly and realistically as you can say? You take that one, Mike. I'm going for lunch.
Oh, man. I don't know. First off, I mean, I'm not sure that I'm really the one to say this stuff because, like, I mean, this is a legal issue. And even my CPAs, like literally with a plural, because I've asked multiple people about this, will give you different answers. And a lot of the times they always preface it of what's your appetite for risk? Because it's basically a situation now where it's impossible to comply. I mean, like literally, it's impossible to comply. Like you can even ask multiple people from state agencies and get different answers of like the way that you're supposed to approach something. So if you're first of all, if you're looking to get to 6 figures, let's just start with that part. You're probably got nothing to worry about except for your home state. Almost guaranteed statistically, because you're talking about $100,000 in sales. Even the most aggressive states are like $100,000 before you trip any type of economic nexus. Now, there could be an argument for physical nexus, which still is shaking its way through the whole system. That's another whole thing that you have to kind of decide on your own. But let me just put it this way. I don't think this is the right answer necessarily. I'm not saying this is the right answer because I, again, just want to be careful about this. It's one of these like legal things. If it was me and I was, doing $100,000 in 2019, I would be filing for my home state and that would be it.
Yeah. We should probably avoid saying too much on this.
Yeah. I mean, again, I really don't really even want to say anymore. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think that this is one of the biggest challenges that faces e-commerce right now. I think it's going to, the reality is the thing that we're fighting for through Online Merchants Guild right now, I mean, is trying to prove the undue burden. I mean, it's literally a situation where I will lose money by selling to certain states because the burden of filing for the paperwork and just keeping on top of it will exceed my profit in those states. And that is not hyperbole or an exaggeration of any kind. There are literally states that we will be, especially as we start breaking up, because we're in the process of breaking things up in the individual companies instead of running it all through one. And it's even going to be worse in that situation because now it's all going to be times 4 for us, like having to do it times 4. So if we're in a situation where, let's say it's South Dakota where all this stuff started, it's $100,000 or 200 transactions. And if you take the 200 transaction thing, which you'll trip way quicker, the average e-commerce transaction is $30. So you're talking about $6,000 in sales into that state. The average e-commerce net profit is 10%. So you're talking about $600 in profit into that state. And there is no way that you're going to convince me in any way, shape, or form that you can file all the paperwork and maintain all that crap for less than $600 in cost. So it is literally a situation where, if you were to fully comply with all of these things, that you will lose money until a time where you get big enough and it will squash the little guy. But I think that if you're in your particular situation, you aren't going to face those problems yet. But this is something that you have to deal with now until it gets resolved, which I think it will get resolved in the next 1 to 5 years. But in the meantime, we're all kind of like, what do we do? And I don't really have, this is one of these things I wish I had an answer for you, and I wish I could tell you everything's going to be okay, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, Karen asks, would love to have a description of how to best to use the product placement tool in sponsored products. And I guess you mean product targeting. I think.
Okay, so
or do you mean, yeah, there's 2 ones. There's the beta program. What is it called? Is it called product placements and
product placement ads? I think is what it's called. Product product placement ads.
If you're around, Karen, maybe you can just clarify. Do you mean product targeting ads or do you mean the placement ads? Or you can just type it in the chat box.
I mean, the new thing that just became available in Seller Central, you go under advertise, create a new advertising campaign. You're going to do a manual campaign, and then halfway down the page, you're changing it from the standard way of doing it to product display ads. It's actually quite simple. And then you have an opportunity to bid on categories or individual products. And the way that we've done this, that's worked incredibly well. Again, I know everything changes and everything that works incredibly well to start with usually erodes over time. But in the meantime, for right now, for us, it's been incredibly lucrative. What we've done is we've gone into our automatic PPC campaigns. We've yanked all the high performing ASINs out of there that are working well. And then we put them into this format and bid on individual ASINs. We've also you can bid on a category, which has been so far a spectacular failure for us. We keep on lowering those bids down because it's not working very well. But targeting individual ASINs has worked very, very well. And I do believe that this is still a beta program, so it may or may not be available in your account.
Yeah, and Karen clarified that it is the beta program.
Yep. So that's how that works. I just kind of went through it, and I would definitely spend some time on it. I mean, if you're an Amazon seller doing any type of volume, we all face. We're talking about a lot of things in here today, right? And the biggest issue, you'll get a lot of takeaways, a lot of things to go do. If you're a solopreneur, you can't go do everything. But I think that this is one of these things that is probably worth your time because it's worked that well for us.
Okay, David G asks, what are the best ways to set yourself apart from other sellers?
I mean, to me, the biggest thing is the photography. Like, I mean, the images has really got to be the thing. I mean, even Amazon, who just created their own brand to sell against us, which highly pisses me off. They have like one image on their listing. Maybe they'll fix it someday and do a better job with it. I hope they don't. But I can tell you that images are the way to set yourself apart still, even in 2019 to other Amazon sellers. Like most people still don't get it. Like they think they have good images and they still aren't good enough. And then when they think they have a good enough image, it still wasn't good enough. And I can tell you this because that's exactly how I've been in my own personal experience where I thought that, we just completed this project and making amazing images. And then, a few months down the road, we realized that we could do a better job and we saw the differences from that and then saw the difference from the next iteration. You guys all know what our brands are. We don't have all images on all products the way that I want them at all times because we have too many SKUs and too many things going on to do it. But the newer stuff that we've done, I can put a couple links in here, like especially the TAC Niner stuff, like because it's all the newer stuff. Like the images are just on another level, and it makes a big difference.
Okay, what other ways do you offload products that aren't working out? How do you liquidate inventory?
Yeah, honestly, this has been a big problem for us. We're at a point now where we've been doing this for 5 years, and I was talking about this at ECF. Every inventory business, no matter how good you are, ends up with inventory skeletons in the closet. You got stuff that just wasn't selling as well, or whatever it is, and you're trying to liquidate it. We've looked at a few different things. We actually just talked to a liquidator, and they offered us what worked out to 6 cents on the dollar for our inventory.
Not bad.
What's that?
That's not actually that bad.
Yeah, well, it's brutal when you think about, for every $100,000 you're liquidating, you're going to get 6,000 back. Mm-hmm. It's tough. It really is. It's when you have a product that just isn't moving, it's hard to like kindle and reignite that demand. So what we've actually done, I kind of did the math, and I also kind of looked at myself in terms of the type of person I want to be and stuff. And we donated about $50,000 worth of stuff at the end of the year last year. That was about 5 years with the problem building up, and we just donated all the local charities. There was an organization here that will basically take anything. It's kind of like a Salvation Army, but it was like a local group. Well, they'll take it and they'll sell it at their own pace, and whatever they get, they use for their charity. I felt like we'll get a 35%ish, 40%ish tax deduction for the donation because we'll just write that off. So it was a inventory write-off, and then they get the opportunity to sell it and do something good with the world. And your best bet is to make sure that you try not to get yourself in those situations, obviously. But I think it's inevitable. I mean, I think that after talking to other people, I realized that we were doing pretty well when you're talking about $50,000 worth of stuff on 1.3 million of inventory. And again, this was over multiple years. And we just decided to do the Band-Aid version and just rip it off. And we got rid of it all at the end of December and just wanted to start with a clean slate. And that's how we did it.
Get the tax write-off too. Not even if you just dispose it, you can at least write the inventory off.
Yeah, it's better to donate. I was talking to my accountant about this because one of the most heavily audited thing is like just inventory disposal or write-off. So if you actually physically give it to somebody, it's a lot better.
Yeah, that's normally a pretty big flag too, though. Charitable contributions.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking to him about it. He's like, this is not going to get scrutinized. You're talking about $50,000. We've never done. I did talk to him about because I was concerned. Again, into 1.3 million, it's way below average and wouldn't even raise an eyebrow.
Yeah. The other thing just to be wary of always is if you have $1,000 in inventory, don't be trying to clear it out for the year and then find out that you paid $1,000 in storage fees. Mm-hmm. We've done that many, many times, and sometimes disposing is the best answer.
That's exactly why we got rid of it.
Yeah.
We were, the reality, because it's painful. But the reality was when we ran the numbers and started looking at how much it was costing us just to keep it, it was better to get rid of it than to keep it.
Igor, what do you need to prove at Amazon if you want to sell cleaning products for shoes that contains liquids? Potential suppliers have MSDS for EU countries, but not the US yet. Thank you in advance.
So you're going to need to pay to get an MSDS made for the US. That's really the only way that's going to happen. It'd be like between $500 and $2,000 depending on the lab.
You could.
That's the only way it's going to happen. Or you can Photoshop it, by the way.
Yeah, we also have a buddy who got suspended from Amazon for doing that. So you got to be careful. Aside from Amazon, what are the most profitable channels and marketing methods? And Google Shopping for us.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's a good one. I actually wasn't even thinking that at first, but yeah, for sure. Google Shopping is like the last remaining thing on the frontier that actually still makes money, pretty consistently. I mean, just selling on Shopify in general. Facebook ads for us do really, really well. If you're a premium member, tomorrow's webinar, I think you're going to find really interesting how we made so much money doing Facebook ads last year. I mean, the rest of this stuff's like all like non-needle moving stuff. eBay, Walmart, Jet. I mean, it's just like Etsy. I'm at the point where I'm thinking of just like getting rid of all that crap because like the time we spend doing it is in the software overhead of having something like Skubana in the back end just to manage it. It's getting to the point where it might not even be worth it.
Yeah. Trade shows for us, especially in our previous boating brand. Very profitable, quick way to make $20,000 in pure profit for a week. A lot of work, but very, very lucrative as well. Okay, Yolanda, for Amazon PPC auto campaigns, what targeting do you have on? What has worked for you? For Amazon PPC auto campaigns, what targeting do you have on?
I just saw your text, by the way.
My text said to Mike, hurry up.
He wasn't quite that nice. He says, you talk too much, you stupid ass.
We started an hour ago with
I want to help everybody. I can't help it.
And we have 36 questions now.
We're going backwards.
Yeah.
For PPC campaigns,
what targeting?
if they're auto campaigns, Yolanda, so I mean, there really isn't any targeting options. I think there might be something I'm missing there.
Yeah, maybe you can clarify in the chat box, Yolanda. And once we get that, we'll circle back to that. Okay, David G, who just left. What are the top things you consider when looking to enter a market or choose a product?
Oh, man. I can't answer this one in less than 10 minutes.
I know. Okay.
There's a podcast episode that actually we were just talking about this, one of our best podcast episodes in terms of percentage of consumption, which is like how to pick the perfect product. Mm-hmm. I would listen to that. It's like a 30-minute diatribe about this. This is not a cop-out of like, I don't want to answer this question. It's just that it's a very long list of things. I'll give you the two big ones that I really realize that are the most important real quick, and then we'll move on. But like consumer fanaticism in that niche, I think is super important. So if you have boring products, we still have a great boring product business with ice wraps, but I prefer things like Color It, where people are going to do social sharing and advertising and word of mouth advertising for you. Direct Facebook audience is really important, and something that like people order over and over again because it's expensive to find new customers. And if you can get them buying more of the same thing, like even better, or buying more of your other products. So those, I think, are the biggest.
Our biggie is making a demonstrable difference to a product. So something that you can visually show in an image, even no matter how small it is, but something to differentiate it.
Camera sucks, dude. It's like so fuzzy.
Really? People don't want to see me.
That's probably true. It's actually probably better for everybody.
Sorry, guys. It's so weird. It doesn't pick up the light. That's the problem.
Close the shade or something.
I think that's a problem. There's not enough light. Okay. David G, what are the top things you consider? We just answered that one. On to Michael. In today's competitive e-commerce climate, what's your advice to business owners running drop shipping stores who are struggling? Two types of owners, new to e-commerce and those that have been running a drop ship business for a while with previous success.
I think if you're a drop ship store, like you absolutely, I mean, you need to be able to provide value, right? Like, I mean, unique selling proposition. Why should people buy the widget from you versus Amazon or somewhere else? So in my mind, the only way to really do that is through content and like service or something along those lines. And the successful drop shipping companies that I know like are prolific in writing blog content, YouTube videos, becoming like the expert in the field. People will buy from you because they're there, like they're in your orbit. And a lot of times they'll feel like they owe you something. Someone actually was like telling me this at lunch at e-commerce fuel the other day. They're like, I signed up for premium because I like of all the free stuff you put out, like I just felt like I owed you something. Like, I mean, it was kind of awkward and interesting all in the same time, but you can do that with your drop shipping company. Let's say you drop ship knives, as a for instance. I know someone that does drop shipping for knives. You could write and do YouTube content like in a prolific way about how to sharpen your knife, how to cook with your knife, how to cut properly with knife, like, and that's just in cooking. And then you have, in the wild, like how to use your knife to like chop down a tree if you have to, or start a fire, or what all these different things that you could do that makes really great content. You could also do reviews of the products in a way that is better in comparisons than everybody else. To me, that would be the way that the angle I would be going after. And again, people will come in through that method. They'll find you on YouTube. They'll find you through the blog post. They're probably interested in buying a knife at that point. And then like they got the answer from you and they're already on a site that also sells the knife. There's a good chance, a better chance, not a good chance, but a better chance than if you didn't have that stuff that they would buy from you. I think that you want to put the odds in your favor, and that's kind of the way to do it.
I'll give you a quick hack. What we used to do in my previous company, which was about 10% drop shipped, we would bundle products. I love bundling. Bundle products from the same drop shipper. So like an anchor winch and an anchor rope, bundle them together. We're not actually physically bundling them, but we're marketing them as a package. And then the drop shipper simply just ships them together. So it worked very well. And it basically allowed us to be a little bit more competitive on pricing and really didn't add any other complexity to our company. Gary, how much is the monthly premium? Monthly is
$1 million.
$299 if you go month to month, and $119 if you prepay for the year. Okay, MB, couple of questions. How to consolidate 10 different products from 2 or 3 factories in one container in China. I'm going to speed up for Mike and just answer a couple of these ones. If they're geographically close, just have them shipped to your main supplier. If they're not geographically close, you're screwed if you can't airship them because overland freight in China is really expensive. But yeah, you can just have them shipped to the same supplier or use a freight forwarder. Freight forwarder will have one warehouse close to the port, and every supplier can simply ship to that one location, and the freight forwarder will actually consolidate them for you. But that assumes that they're all going to the same port. So if you have something in Beijing and something in Guangzhou, which is about 5,000 kilometers apart, pretty tough to consolidate them. Number 2, if most of the product packaging from factory seems cheap, how to go about getting premium packaging directly from the packaging factory to those 2 or 3 factories. You can ask them to get premium packaging, and you have to speak the language. So ask them if they're cheap packaging, tell them what box is this? Like how many layers is this box? And then say, no, I don't want a 3-layer corrugated box. I want a 7-layer corrugated box. My little hack, go to uline.com. Uline has an incredible selection of boxes, and they'll explain to you them in very standard language. So 7-layer corrugated box or glossy inserts. Just go to Uline, figure out the terminology there rather than trying to figure out in Chinese, and then just communicate in English what exactly you want for those boxes, because there is pretty standard language that's used across the world. Anything to add to that last one, Mike?
No, it's Nuwan was just saying, I think I wasn't paying attention. I think you might have said the wrong price for premium. It's $249 a month. Did you say not $299?
Oh, thanks, Nuwan.
And it works out to $119 a month if you pay for the year. So it's $1428 for the year if you pay for the whole year in advance.
Okay, Robin asks, does adding to cart without purchase help in Amazon A9 ranking? Yes. Mike will give a 10-minute answer here, but yes. Correct. Correct, Mike?
Correct. It actually is the biggest contributor, in fact,
It is.
as we found out. It's like 60% of the algorithm.
Benji, long question. Is there a reason that we might try to find a perfect product that has low competition, high sales with a chance for modification to improve it versus being the 20,000th ranked product in cell phones and accessories and selling 120 of them per month? Just a hypothesis of mine, but is it easier to have a bestseller rank of 20,000 and do 50 of those products versus finding the one perfect product? Would love to get your opinions and ideas on this pros and cons. So the question is, in a nutshell, being the top, basically the top ranked product for a really small niche, or having a bunch of poorly ranked products, but that have huge BSRs. I would say for the latter, having a bunch of poorly ranked products is a great way to pump your stats and get high revenue, but profits will be absolutely killed because you're going to be spending a ton on PPC. And in the long run, you're going to get killed on profit. Even though your revenue might not show it, profit is where you'll get killed.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're trying to be just a pure Amazon seller, if that's the business model you're doing, you're better off with lower volume products. I mean, it doesn't necessarily, the lower volume doesn't have to come from the fact that you don't rank high. I mean, you could rank number one for something that only sells like 20 units per month. But what I found is over 5 years of doing this and just seeing how things have developed, the more competitive it is, the more it shows up on Jungle Scout and the more people are figuring it out. And if you can fly under the radar, if you're in the opportunities that most people are like, oh, that's not worth my time and effort, it can be a good little niche for you. And we've taken a little bit different approach, the longer term brand building, et cetera. But if you're just looking for a lifestyle business of just selling stuff on Amazon and making money, I mean, Dave's really the perfect example of that. I mean, he doesn't go after anything that's like selling 100 units per day. Like I don't know, what's your best selling product? Like 4 a day or 3 a day or something? I mean,
yeah, I go after high ticket items in low quantity. So things kind of in that $100 to $200 range. You sell 3 or 4 of them a day. That's $400 or $500 compared to a $10 item that might sell 100 items. The math is pretty similar.
But people aren't searching for that on Jungle Scout. They're searching for I want to sell, and I get it because I have products that do 50, 100. We actually have one product that does 200 units per day now. It feels really cool, like seeing that number. But it also creates a lot of logistical nightmares and stuff when things don't go right. If you have something that you're selling 3 per day and things go wrong and you go down to 2 per day, it's not going to be as big of an inventory cash flow crunch as if you have something that goes from like 200 down to 50.
Okay, Jai asks, what's a good framework to use to quickly launch and test products to see if it has legs? Opportunities are everywhere and building a brand takes time, so looking for a good framework to target appropriately. So in premium, the Amazon launch strategy is actually how you can test a product for really cheap using Facebook ads and AliExpress. And that's a whole course. I'm kind of walking you through it step by step on doing that. My way is to order in a carton, put it on Amazon. So you order a trial carton from a supplier in China, test it on Amazon. You'll probably have 20 to 50 items. Try selling it on Amazon. If it sticks, then order a bunch more. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Anything to add, Mike?
Nope, I think that's pretty much dead on.
What are the ideal margins for an e-commerce business? Amazon and Shopify stores. Mike?
I mean, I don't think ideal is the right word because if it was ideal, it'd be like 1,000% margins. But I can tell you the average, and I can tell you what we're doing, and I can tell you actually, State of the Merchant survey just came out and was re-updated. So I encourage you to search for State of the Merchant. Our net profit, we've been targeting 10%. We're actually moving that to 15 now. We're on track to do that. Gross margins, you want to be at like basically buy it for $1 and sell it for $4. I think is kind of where you need to be. We used to be buy it for $1, sell it for $3. That in the end of the day just doesn't work. realistically. You really need products you're buying for $1, selling it for $4. If we're evaluating a product and don't feel like we can sell it for that, we just don't do it, period. And again, our net we're aiming for has been 10%, but we're raising it because we're now focusing on net profit and not focusing on just top line revenue growth. So we're pretty easily getting to a much better net profit. In fact, for color, at the last few months, it's been 17%. It's getting better and better. Yep. Net profit.
Having reviewed quite a few businesses for sale, that 10 to 15% net margin is pretty standard. What are the best practices for Google search ads in 2018? Competition and the cost of clicks makes it very hard to keep CPAs low.
I would say the best practice is just not to do them. In all seriousness, we have a few, I don't know what it is, we have a few keywords that do perform well still. But for the most part, we just spend all of our money on Google Shopping ads and very little money on Google search ads. I would say the best way to keep CPAs low is just to bid very low on the bids and not stress about the fact that you're not getting a whole bunch of sales, and focus on what your ROI is.
Yeah. Hey guys, from Bill Nagy. Love the content. I've been selling for 10 months, and while my business has really taken off, one of the biggest challenges I've had is scaling my business is finding the best partners and vendors for various tasks. For example, a quality graphic designer for images and infographics, or video creation for Amazon listings. I've had mixed results with vendors. Would you guys ever consider providing access to your team for the tasks and charging your members for the service? If not, any advice for finding the right people for these tasks?
We've talked about it. I actually brought up the suggestion. They didn't like the idea. We're still thinking about it, I guess, or talking about it. But I mean, I would just hire someone full-time, Bill. You can hire our graphic designers over in the Philippines. We have 3 full-time graphic designers. They're $600 a month each. They do an incredible job. Like, all of our graphics are done by them for our website, for our packaging, for videos, for Facebook ads. They just do an awesome job. And even though you might not feel like you have enough work to give someone right now full time, the $600 a month price point is going to be lower than even probably getting 1 or 2 graphics done from an agency. And then you can find the person over time that, like, you work really well with. They're yours. They're always there for you. They're looking out for your best interest. They're a team member for you. And if you have a full-time graphic person, you won't ever stress about the money you're spending getting graphic design done. You'll probably just end up taking everything to the next level. And I think that this is super important. So, I would start looking for, if it wasn't me in my shoes and I was in your spot, I'd start looking for that full-time guy that can be yours over in the Philippines. And it will take you time to find them, but once you do, it should make a huge difference in your business.
We have referred premium members before to our designers, specifically Dave Kuyar. The problem is that normally it's cost prohibitive. And that's because there's a lot of upfront costs, especially in kind of communicating the needs of the person designing their brand with the designer. And that's kind of the problem. There's often a trade-off between price and quality. But we are happy to help make connections for you for premium members. It's just sometimes price can be a bit of an issue.
We just, I just talked to Nathan from FreeUp, FREEUP, yesterday. He's going to be on the podcast, so you guys can listen to that when it comes out in the next couple months. But they basically, they can do this for you theoretically. I haven't used them yet, but basically, you can hire people. It's kind of like Upwork, except they control the people and they vet them all. And they're basically, what he told me is they're keeping like the top 1%. So, and Charlotte says she loves FreeUp. So for what it's worth, FreeUp is a potential.
I have heard that. A lot of good things from FreeUp. Big negative is that they take a perpetual percentage. But other than that, I've heard great things too.
I didn't tell Dave this yet because I haven't had a chance to tell him, but he gave us a free credit for you to go use. I know you love free stuff. So
how many hours does that get me?
I'm not sure. It was $1 amount.
Nuvan, another premium member, negotiation anxiety. It almost feels wrong to negotiate. Logically, when I take a step back, I understand it's a very normal part of business, but during negotiation, I feel emotionally conflicted and illogical somewhat due to the anxiety. I'm wondering, is there a way to become more logical with my negotiation, or any suggestions to get past this?
I mean, I assume you're talking about negotiating with your manufacturers and getting the price down on stuff. You have to get past this. This is like I've realized that I thought I wasn't a good negotiator with stuff from China, and once we got a sourcing agent in between to help us with it, I realized we could be doing much better. And that's actually my recommendation to you. Like, there's all kinds of things in business that you'll be good at, and there'll be some things you naturally won't be good at, and those things are different for everyone. So find someone to put in that spot. You know, get a sourcing agent that's looking out for your best interest, that can negotiate stuff down. I mean, one of the reasons we've been able to improve our margins for color it's so much is because we've been able to source things cheaper, and we've actually for the most of our stuff that we've been renegotiating, we actually are getting it cheaper now, even with the tariff. So when the tariff goes away, it'll be even better. But yeah, I mean, I would just find someone. And again, Nuvan, you're a premium member, so I'll give you the contact we have for that, who can definitely help you.
On to Cameron. Hey guys, I have a couple products that convert well, 9 to 12%, but get no sessions less than 10 a day. Is this a keyword optimization problem? What can I do to boost sessions? Speaking from experience, Cameron, we had a couple products in this boat last year. It was a category problem. Certain keywords are category specific so for us, we could not rank the word tent unless it was in the actual tent category. So we couldn't rank the word tent in the sports and fitness category, even though it's somewhat of a match. It had to actually be in the tents category. I think, Mike, you had a similar experience with books having to be in the books category, which kind of makes sense, but it's a real thing. So it's the first thing I would take a look at is your categorization. Okay, Nuvan, regarding the internet, what is this internet I keep hearing about?
I hear it's all the rage. It's gonna be the next big thing, man.
Use an international carrier. Does this bypass the China firewall? Yes, it does. So if you're on roaming, you will get around the Great Firewall.
There was a time that we were there for like 3 days. There was some special thing going on where they did lock everything down, though.
Yes. So if they're doing like their biannual, whatever is basically their equivalent of like the State of the Union, then yeah, they kind of lock everything down.
If you ever want to like see Mike Jackness curse like repetitively, just take away his internet.
Larry asks, have any of your shipments been hit with a CES inspection? Oh God, yes. I had a partial container inspection, cost me $1,000. Is it normal? So Mike never has anything inspected. We're fortunate here in Vancouver that we have like the most inspected port in the world, and basically half of all our shipments get inspected. So yeah, been through it. Just got a $3,000 bill last month for it. We also set up a new company for a shipment going to the US. New companies normally have a higher rate of being inspected, and yeah, I think we got hit basically with a $1,000 bill. Couple things that you can do if you are getting inspected regularly. Sometimes it's that pre-manifest information that you submit. What is it? The ISF filings, and your freight forwarder forgets to submit it, or they do it incorrectly. So if you are getting hit regularly, I would perhaps consider switching freight forwarders. If it's a once in a lifetime thing, like you get this once a year or once every couple of years, it's a random thing. I mean, everyone's going to get hit with it eventually. And yeah, you do get charged for it. It sucks. You get charged for storage, for inspecting your shipments, even when there's nothing wrong. I work with brands that didn't know resellers sell their products on Amazon. The brand is working with Steve to register the brand and get enhanced brand content. Some of the brand's product listings have one image and 1-star reviews. How does the brand clean up the listing, or can the brand request Amazon to replace a new listing that the brand creates and somehow remove the older listing? Joe from Seattle. So
I think the Stephen he's referring to there is the lawyer that helps with trademarks and stuff. He was a podcast guest. Great guy. Yeah. So, I mean, in this case, I probably would just let the old listing go away and create a new one. So you can just stop selling on that listing, close it, create a new listing that doesn't have 1-star reviews. If it's like just buried with bad reviews, like negative reviews or something.
You can't do that without a new UPC.
That's true.
So if you're selling Apple iPhones and all of a sudden Apple finds out somebody's been selling their products on Amazon, they're not going to re-UPC all their items.
That's true. Yeah, that would definitely be a bigger problem, without a doubt. So I mean, if it's a situation where it's like a big enough brand, which it sounds like it could be here because they're like resellers and stuff, that they're, is that, yeah, he says someone else owns the listing, Joe from Seattle. I mean, if it's a situation where there's like the thing has UPCs on it and it's on retail shelves, you can't just change it. So you're gonna have to deal with it. The 1-star reviews you can get removed. There's an article on Amazon that talks about the ways you can get reviews removed, and usually it's things like if there's curse words in it, like profanity or threatening stuff. But the one that we have luck with is if they complain about the price. So we actually get the majority of our 1-star reviews removed because someone's like, it wasn't worth it, or I can buy a different one cheaper. If there's any type of language in there about that, you can get those reviews removed. If not, it's just going to be a long road, man, to over time to get that cleaned up. The Amazon's not going to remove the reviews.
Yeah, you can't do anything about the reviews. If you need to clean up the listing, though, if you get brand registry, you can get basically control of the listing back. Sometimes you have to open up Seller Central cases and get them to kind of manually do your submitted revisions. So that part you can clean up. The reviews, nothing you can do. But
there's actually a form that you fill out for this. I've done it with a couple of manufacturers. You literally print it out and fill out this form and get the brand to give you permission to be the brand registered agent for the thing. And then once you have brand registry, you can do what Dave was talking about.
Yeah. Svetlana. Oh my God, that's a big test right now. Svetlana Brennan. Sorry,
I think that's pronounced right. Svetlana.
Svetlana. That's a nice name, actually. How do you have time to run a successful e-commerce company while running EcomCrew.com? It's all me.
Great content, webinars, podcast. I mean, first of all, we have an amazing team. Yes. So don't ever forget about that. I often try to remind people that we are not solopreneurs. I can speak for myself. We have 12 people in the Philippines and a couple more here in California. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do all this. But I also still run from entrepreneurial disease of trying to do too many things a lot of times, something that we talked about in a recent episode of just trying to do less. But, I spend almost all of my time, or not all of my time, but like majority of my time now on EcomCrew stuff. It's something Dave and I were just talking about as it gets bigger. This is something that we get a lot of enjoyment out of. So typically things you end up spending less time on or procrastinating with are the things that you hate doing. So for me, EcomCrew is the funner thing because it's fun talking to you guys and helping you guys.
In terms of running the e-commerce companies too, I find that so much of the time comes in product development up front. And once we're kind of fortunate, Mike especially, he's spent 5 years putting all that time into developing his products, and now they're kind of on coast almost.
And we also have a full-time person that gets paid 6 figures that does that as well. That also helps
too. Joe, will there be an EcomCrew meetup? Will it be in China or Hong Kong? The meetup will be in Hong Kong for sure. And we are kind of debating right now, hopping over to China on the new high-speed train from Kowloon over to Canton Fair, taking any premium members who want to come. It's not going to be a tour or anything. We're not going to charge any significant amount of money for it. But basically, first-time travelers to China, we can all just hop on a train together and head over there together and kind of navigate China together and make sure that nobody gets lost along the way. But for sure, a meetup, I think, on the 27th of April in Hong Kong. And then if we go over to China, it will be probably somewhere around the 24th. No fair, Mike. You're snacking.
I am. I'm having a couple almonds.
Ooh. Nuban, I can't seem to get on the first page of paid ad results for a keyword. The estimate for the bidding was $1.20, and I paid $2.50 expecting those allowed me to get it featured on the first page. But this didn't seem to happen. It feels like other sellers have precedence or some advantage. Is there something I'm missing on why I'm not getting on the first page of paid results despite the larger bid?
I can answer this one.
Yeah, me too. But
I can almost guarantee you that it's a category problem. That we've went through this exact same thing, and it was a category issue.
You can submit the listing too, Nuban, if you want. Just send us an email. I'm happy to take a look. Paul Victor asks, hey guys, we have a site that is fully funded with A ratings in all the important categories: speed, design, usability. We are set up through Google Analytics and Google Merchant and Google Marketplace. What are some of the best hacks you know to get to show up in the searches and optimize search rankings?
Fully funded.
Yeah, I don't know.
What does that mean?
With A ratings in all the important categories.
Oh, I think I know what he means. He's like saying, like, as far as page speed goes, like Google Analytics. So, I mean, so the best way to start working on SEO, in my opinion, I mean, you gotta make content that's better than everybody else's out there. Really, at the end of the day, that's like the bottom line. So when we look at writing something for Color It, the post we have, for instance, that's the benefits of coloring, which we rank #1 for, or the best colored pencils, which we rank #1 for, things like this. Like, we're going out and looking at what other people have written about the benefits of coloring. And typically they were like the Wall Street Journal or like Huffington Post or whatever writing about this. And it was just like, they were taking an approach of like the minimum amount they could do to like write their column, their 500 or their 1,500 word column or whatever. We went out and like wrote like a 5,000 word article about it, whatever the hell it was, and included a ton of like research notes and like interviewed some people and customers about like how it helps them with like depression or anxiety and things of this nature. And when we did our review, we like colored a drawing with all the different stuff and took pictures and actually physically used them versus what most people do, which is the yank an Amazon photo off the internet and write a bullshit like article. So, it comes with writing stuff that people are really interested in and people are going to link to. Like, if you have an article that's really well written and actually answers the question, people will link to it. I would start there. It sounds like you have all your metrics in place in terms of like the site's fast and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, like, you got to have the best content there to really make a difference.
Okay, Robin, is it recommended to reply thank you to good product reviews for my products on Amazon, or just leave it? So if somebody leaves a good product review, reply thank you.
We reply to 1, 2, and 3 star reviews that we can't resolve, but we don't take the time to respond to 4 and 5 star reviews. We just don't have the time to deal with that. I don't think it hurts. I don't know that it helps, but we do reply to the negative ones.
Chris asks recommendations on a good freight forwarder. Try PCBUSA.com.
And if you're in premium, there's a document that has like 20 vendors on it, including like 6 or 7 freight forwarders.
Yeah, and we can also help you get a better rate too with PCB USA. So premium members get a little bit better rate with them, especially in the beginning. Nuvan, how important do you believe trade assurance is on Alibaba? I've heard a lot of good suppliers don't use it, so filtering based on this isn't the greatest. Yeah, not the be all, the end all. It's normally a good indication of a reasonable, trustworthy supplier, not necessarily an indication of a scammer as well. So you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. So if they don't have it, then you just have to kind of apply other tests to them. If you're sending money, make sure that you're sending it to the actual company name. Do a search of them on Port Examiner on the company name. Make sure they actually have shipments that have been going out of the country. So if they have a significant track record on either Port Examiner or Panjiva or Import Genius, then it probably means they're legit. So if they don't have trade assurance, it's normally, for me, it's just a trigger to actually dig down a little bit further and see if it's a legitimate supplier or not. But it's not a black and white thing where if they don't have it, then they just get the axe. Charlotte asks, merging of old listings to a new listing. This might be an option for me. Can you point me to any info about the best practices for this? If you go onto the EcomCrew blog, there's actually a blog article in the within the last month, variations and how to actually merge them. So I'll point a link there, and that's probably your best starting point. Okay, David asks, I'd like to add a high-selling product to my Amazon catalog because it meshes well with the current products. However, multiple sellers are selling the exact same product from Alibaba. Can I distinguish my version by upgrading the packaging? Can packaging differentiate one from the crowd?
This is something else that we talk a lot about in EcomCrew Premium. We have like a whole course on this, but so it's obviously like 7 hours worth of material, so trying to answer as quickly as possible. Packaging is something we spend a ton of money and effort on, and it can absolutely differentiate you. Dave had a great saying about like how packaging doesn't necessarily help get your first sale from that customer, but helps you maybe get your second. So your packaging certainly does help. Excuse me. You're going to have to do more than just that, though, is the bottom line. Like just updating the packaging is not going to be enough to distinguish you from all of the other crazy Alibaba sellers. You're going to want to significantly change the product in some way that's visible. So I would say that's not enough. Bottom line.
Okay, working through some of these. One to start an LLC and get a trademark. So,
you want to file for your trademark yesterday because it takes like 12 months to get the darn thing. And by the time you want it, it'll be further down the process than you want. It's really important to have a trademark because of brand registry when you sell on Amazon. When to start an LLC is more of a personal thing. I start them from like day one because I've been in business lots of years and have a net worth and stuff that I need to protect, et cetera. But if you're just getting started and you don't really feel like you have anything you need to protect, there's not necessarily a reason to do it up front, other than like changing it later is like kind of a pain in the butt. It's just easier and cleaner from every perspective having an LLC. You get your own bank account for the business and your own credit cards, and you can produce easy financials, and there's not like personal expenses like commingled in the middle of all of your business transactions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it helps you from a legal perspective. Depending on what state you're in, typically it's not that expensive to do.
okay, Chad asks, is Mike using a standing desk? If so, does he enjoy it? And how much does he use it versus sitting?
I am using a standing desk. I am standing right now. I have been standing most of this meeting. I enjoy it a lot. I actually have them left over from treadmill.com. We had a showroom of standing desks, so that's the furniture here. I stand at least 2 hours a day, like at an absolute minimum, sometimes more.
Yeah, I need to get one of those.
Like usually when I'm doing any podcasting or any type of this stuff, it's like very easy to stand. So I'm usually standing.
Michelle asks, does Klaviyo have the ability to send a Facebook ad to people who don't open your emails? When do you use that?
Yes, it does. Not Klaviyo inherently by itself, but the way that it would work is you would make a segment of people who were sent an email but haven't opened it, and then synchronize that segment to Facebook as an interest. As a custom audience. As a custom audience, and then you would run the ad to that custom audience.
Tony asks, what is the website you mentioned earlier regarding keywords? That's asinspy.net. And you'll need to use Google Translate to get around it, but it's a credible website. Michelle, do you use Hubstaff to track your VA's time?
I'm not sure. We do track their time. We only track their time because we need to bill their time to the correct business, the correct brand. And I get a report from Mia every month that breaks that down, but I'm not sure if she's doing it through Hubstaff or not. So I don't know the answer, unfortunately.
Yeah, we don't as of yet. Tony, sorry, I still need some help to clarify the keyword search volume question. I have a product that has two main keywords that have over 6,000 exact keyword search volumes per month, but the main keywords are super competitive. However, there's a long tail keyword that is not competitive, but has less than 100 exact searches per month. Should I stay away from this product? I have a product.
I would stay away, I think. 100 is not that many.
Yeah.
And you say super, I mean, if it's super competitive, I mean, unless you have an angle of how you're going to break into that, I mean, like color, I would have no problem with it. In fact, I would target this. Like I would aggressively be targeting this because I know we can break into that because we have a large user base and all the things we teach on EcomCrew. We've got them pixeled and we got their email address. We got them on ManyChat. We have a brand and we have loyalty. And when we launch a new product, they do very well. In fact, Dave and I were just doing our wins of 2018, and one of our big wins was just the ease of being able to launch a color product. But if you don't have that angle, I would stay away and go after something easier right now.
Angie asks, is there a way to help your accessory Amazon product listing be suggested as bought together product with your main listing? And there's a pretty objective algorithm that goes with this. I think you either need to have it purchased 5 times with it or 20.
Chad Rubin put a study out about this. If you do a Google search about this and like put in Skubana afterwards or Chad Rubin, there's a thing that he did like a Friday nugget or something like that about this. I forgot exactly what the outcome was of how to game this a little bit.
Yeah, there was apparently some blackout stuff that came out too from some of the Chinese guys where leaked Amazon information or Amazon employee information and basically it painted it down very objectively. But I'd be curious to see Chad's too, to see his take on it.
I'm just going to grab a drink real quick. I apologize. I'll be right back.
Nuvan, I'm building out a passion brand which requires blogging to acquire newsletter subscribers. I've heard that Shopify is terrible for this purpose. Is there something similar to Shopify which you can recommend made for blogging, building an email list? I'm currently using WordPress but don't want to overinvest time at this point. Shopify's not terrible for blogging. It's bad for the navigational architecture and just how they kind of organize things. And so from an SEO standpoint, Shopify is not the greatest. It's not terrible though. So I probably wouldn't re-platform just to get away from that. WordPress is by far the best blogging choice. I mean, WordPress in conjunction with Shopify though is really not an option because if you put WordPress on a subdomain within your Shopify store, it's really going to hurt your SEO. So if you're already on Shopify, I would recommend stick with Shopify. It's not going to hurt your SEO that bad. And if you're on WordPress, I would probably recommend staying the course there. Bill asks, thanks for answering my previous question. Sorry, Nuvan, I just see your chat message here. I'll get to it seeing we just answered it. If you add Shopify later to a WordPress store, is that fine?
The only way to do it is on the subdomain, like you said.
Mm-hmm. The other option is to simply merge all your WordPress content over to Shopify. You're going to take a hit probably for 2 or 3 months. We've done that previously, just replatforming from Magento to Shopify. Your SEO rankings definitely do take a hit for 2 to 3 months. Eventually they come back, but you lose it for 2 or 3 months. It's a real big pain replatforming, especially if you have a lot of content.
I would actually argue that they don't come back at all because Shopify URL structure is awful.
Yeah. I mean, they'll come back, just maybe not as strongly.
I mean, yeah. I would look at it this way, Nuvan. If you think that like the entry point to your brand is content, like you're a personal brand or something that like, the touch point, always first touch point to your funnel is the content, then I would just add store to the main menu of your blog and then have like shop.mybrand.com and put the Shopify store purchasing part like over there. But if you're a product brand first, you should just have it all on Shopify.
Okay, Bill, thanks for answering my previous question. Great advice. I just joined Premium while on this webinar. Hey, thank you. I'm coming to the Canton Fair, so really looking forward to meeting up with you guys. We are too. I've been selling for 10 months and just crossed $1 million threshold. Awesome. I'm very interested to join any mastermind or in-person meetup sessions. Will EcomCrew be offering anything like this in 2019, aside from the Canton Fair? And are there any mastermind groups that you recommend? Also, any seller conferences that you recommend for continued learning? So one of our goals is to do at least 2 events in 2019. So something in Asia and something in North America on this side of the world.
Which will be Vancouver.
Yeah, perhaps Vancouver. So get your Canadian visas ready. But yeah, that's our goal. At least 2 events throughout 2019. We also go to a lot of conferences too. So we kind of do informal things like we did just last week at ECF. So we've had, I think, at least probably 10 premium members while we're there. So that's kind of the informal thing that we do while we're there.
Seller Summit, another good conference that I'll be speaking at. Global Sources while you're in Hong Kong is another really good one. If you're going to be going over there anyway. And we're going to be getting a coupon code for a discount here, hopefully this week.
Yeah, in terms of the mastermind groups, I mean, it's something we've kind of played with offering to premium members. When we do it, we want to make sure that we do it correct because there's a lot of really high paid mastermind groups out there where you don't get what you paid for. So I don't know if we do it paid or free, but we just want to make sure anything that we kind of start for a mastermind that everyone gets as much value out of it as possible because the masterminds are very hit or miss and you don't want to do it half-assed. By the way, thank you very much, Bill, for supporting us.
Yes, appreciate it. Seriously.
Yolanda, for newer auto campaigns I've set up okay, this is what I was reading in the chat box. For the newer auto campaigns I've set up in December 2018, so a month ago, Amazon automatically turns on 4 types of targeting: close match, substitutes, loose match, and complements. Some do well, some do poorly, and I was wondering if you have any experience with these. For all the older campaigns, these don't show at all. Like, enlighten me. Where is this on the keyword level? So kind of like a broad.
It's under. There's like, I think it says targeting. So when you make a new campaign, there's like another tab now that shows up.
Interesting.
I have seen it. I have not played with this yet. I have been playing with the. What was the thing we talked about in the last webinar, Dave? With the
placement, so you can adjust your bids up and down to appear at the top of search results. Oh, Yolanda has me down a rabbit hole now as I'm trying to set up an auto campaign.
Okay. Well, you can use an existing.
I can't see it if I go to edit one that's created previously. I can't see it.
I mean, I can look at a new one that we created. I've seen it.
Yeah.
We just made some new ones, so let me see here.
Like the dynamic bidding up and down, I can see that everywhere.
Have we made any?
I don't see this anywhere. I wonder, like. Sorry, guys. Now I'm just curious out of my own self-interest. Product targeting, keyword targeting. I don't see this anywhere. Do you guys know if it's a beta program? Like, does it have the little beta word beside it?
The thing is, I've seen it. Placements. Yeah. Oh, so it's what I'm seeing is that top of search thing. Top of search product pages and rest of search was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that one. Yolanda, you're in some like weird vortex here where only you have access to this.
Yeah. You just become Yolanda.
Yeah, I know. Do you know, Yolanda, is this a beta? Yeah, if it doesn't say anything about beta, I'll try to send you a screenshot.
Nice. Post it in the Facebook group so everybody else can see it too.
See what you get from premium guys? You get people like Yolanda sharing all these things that nobody else knows about. Okay. Oh my gosh, we got one more question. Anyone you'd recommend for relabeling? So I assume you mean relabeling products. Premium, we have a list of 3PLs. We also have if you search on EcomCrew.com, there's a really good blog post we have on 3PLs, and we list a few there. So yeah, you're going to need a 3PL to relabel them for you. Yeah. So if you either join premium or search on the blog for 3PLs, there's a few recommendations there too. Now, we do have one last submission that was emailed in. I think it's like a 10-parter. So we can kind of try to rapid fire through this, and then we can go through anything else, any last questions that people have. Because other than that, we're going to wrap up, I think. Okay, from Craig. When sourcing a product from China that does not exist in Amazon's catalog, you need to obtain a UPC from GS1 US. You need to obtain officially. You need to obtain one from GS1 of either Canada, the US, or some other GS1 applicable country. They're enforcing this kind of all over the place right now.
We just got caught up in this, by the way.
What you did?
Really freaking frustrating because we've been using both barcodes we had purchased from a third party for the last 5 years. We went to make a new listing and it was like, So we had to then go pay $750 to get our barcodes from GS1. And then it took them like 3 weeks to actually approve the damn thing.
Yes.
Really frustrating because we had placed an order with the manufacturer that now got delayed by 3 weeks while they were waiting for the new barcode.
I know. It's a racket that they have.
Doing it because we got caught up in it. Yeah, and then it's like going to be like $150 a year now for the barcodes.
I have an even better story to add to that. Same thing with us. So when we started the brand, we just bought 10 from GS1 for like $150, thinking nothing of it. Then we needed 100 more. Went to go upgrade to 100 more. Apparently, though, they're going to put us on a brand new like company profile to get 100 more. They can't just like tack on an extra 90 barcodes onto our current plan. So now we have 2 plans. GS1 just to get more barcodes. I mean,
because the way that it works, like, so there's like a 13-digit number, whatever the heck number it is, and like if you buy 10, it's just like the last number that you get assigned is different, and then if it's so like the reason it's more expensive because there's like the more you get, the fewer base extensions can exist. So yeah, we got the 1,000 one or whatever it was for color, just knowing that over time we'll need those. And knowing exactly what you ran into would be a problem. Yeah.
Also, do not buy from Canada. If you are going to buy, you should buy from the US because they're the same barcodes and you pay for less money through the US. Little tip.
Interesting.
I think actually the UK is even cheaper, but check it out. Does Amazon require the certificate from only them? And what does the Amazon process look like?
We had to send in the certificate.
Yeah. Did you really?
It took 3 weeks. Yeah. It was
to Amazon?
Not physically mail it, but we had to show them the screenshot. Yeah.
In Amazon?
Yeah. Through support. Yeah.
Wow. Crazy.
They require this. They require the certificate.
Crazy. Less expensive route. Can you go through Speedy Barcodes or buy a barcode? You used to be able to, and sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. The only way to really find out is to buy them and try to add your product, and you'll either get the yay or the nay at the moment of submission. If I prepare the items at my house and then send them to FBA, I would like to understand any gotchas about the customs fee and process and shipment from China supplier to my home. Check out our blog post on international freight. There's a lot of gotchas, probably too much for this webinar. So check that out, and lots of good comments on that post too, and that's probably the best way to figure that one out. Reading your blog, for orders under $2,500, you will not need what they call a formal entry to import the goods into the US. This means your shipping company will clear customs for you, but they may charge you a fee for this. Can you talk about any gotchas or tips for business registration process as part of shipping from China to your own home? I know you mentioned you don't necessarily need an LLC company. So for under $2,500, you should be able to use your personal social insurance number.
Yep.
What points should you consider creating an LLC to protect my personal assets immediately, especially if you're selling risky items?
Yeah. We kind of answered that a little bit earlier. I mean, I think it's kind of a personal thing, but I still think immediately is the answer.
Yeah. Thing to keep in mind is that you're going to be liable. Anything that happens, you're going to be on the hook for it. So if somebody buys your garlic press and cuts off their finger, well, you are getting sued, not the Chinese supplier. Do I need to set up a separate checking account, maybe a business checking at the bank specifically for my Amazon seller account? They don't care where your bank is.
But I would still make a separate account for your business.
Yes. One thing you need to do for sure is to go to the bank, but one sec. You want to keep it. Sorry, just a little bit confusing there. If you're private labeling a product, what steps do you need to take to secure your brand name and logo? Do you want to go through Amazon brand registry and process it immediately? Like Mike mentioned, you should be registering for your trademark yesterday. just because it takes 12 months to do. So if you want to protect your product, you want to get brand registry, yeah, you should do it ASAP. Getting a trademark is pretty cheap. You can do it on your own for $300. You can use a lawyer normally for under $1,000. But it is a pretty important part about the Amazon game nowadays. Anything to add to those, Mike?
Nope.
Nuvan adds, after submission of your UPC code, you should be home free after that, right? Theoretically, I mean, the fear by everybody now is that Amazon one day is going to crack down on all the resold barcodes. They haven't done it yet. The only time that you'll run into problems is if somebody tries to reuse a barcode that you have, and somebody in the premium Facebook group mentioned that they ran into that problem. So basically they bought a UPC code for something like this pen, worked fine for years, and then the actual UPC owner went to go register their new product with that UPC, and then Amazon basically said to both products, okay, one of you prove who owns this GS1 prefix, and the person who approves it gets to keep the UPC, and the other guy gets kicked off.
Makes sense.
GS1 codes seem like a bit of a rort, such as life. Yes.
I don't know what rort means, but I can translate.
I can understand what he's getting at, though.
Yeah.
I think that just about wraps it up, Mike.
Yeah, we did it. We reached
2
the end of the
hours.
rainbow. Yeah.
Well, if you're still recording at your pace, we'd be here until next week.
Oh, excuse me.
That was good. But
for the guys that are left, again, just a little bit more about EcomCrew Premium. It's ecomcrew.com/premium. The registration for that is only open every couple months. So it's open this week, and then it'll be closing in until April. So if you're interested in joining that, we do webinars like this twice a month for our premium members. So you guys get access to that along with our Facebook group, unlimited email access, all the pre-recorded training that we have. And it was cool seeing so many EcomCrew premium members in here today. Like what just happened with the...
yeah, sorry. I was...
that was weird.
Clicking on members. I believe I added them. They can put on their webcams now.
And you guys can put your webcams on. I don't know what he was doing there, but yeah, but I appreciate the people, even if you aren't a premium member, for supporting everything we do here at EcomCrew, listening to the podcast, consuming Dave's prolific articles that he writes about all kinds of e-commerce stuff, listening to me talk too much, evidently, because Dave's always making fun of me for that. But it's been awesome. We got to meet so many members at E-commerce for Live, and the comments, like I said, they never get old. So appreciate everything you guys do for us as well. It's been quite a ride. So looks like we've reached the end of all the questions. This replay will go up probably in a couple of days, because it's going to take a while for this long recording to finish processing. But once it does, we'll make this public for everybody, so you can go back and review it if you want, or if you miss some, you can go back and watch the stuff that you missed.
Cool. Thank you guys for coming out.
And there's the link one more time to premium. All right. My lunch date just arrived. It's actually an EcomCrew premium member. If anybody lives in San Diego, I have an open door policy to grab lunch with anyone that's a premium member. So if you happen to live in San Diego and want to grab lunch, please let me know. And with that, I'm going to get some sushi.
Up here.
Vancouver nights.
Yeah. 8 nights.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a great rest of the day. And until the next time, happy selling, and we'll talk to you soon.